Yeah, that's why I actually brought this up now, because I know it's kind of might be confusing. Okay, how to
But
because
okay, so
in analytics, it's
so
very important to be able to take the right. It's about decisions. For
yeah, that's right.
example, and when we looked at these steps, you see what we are talking about here. Setting up hypothesis, you have to set the hypothesis up correctly in the first place. You set up a significance level. Okay, those that are behind the research will be able to advise on this. Okay, then you set up or choose a test criteria. You have to know exactly what to do. For example, now what we are just talking about, it falls under number 3, where you have to know. Okay, test criteria now. Maybe we are doing a test of mean. Okay, and you are dealing with 2 samples, and now you need to choose between z-test and t-test. How do you take that decision? How do you make that decision? Okay, that's the essence of this lecture. How do you make that decision? Okay, so usually when you are dealing with a small sample, the first thing that comes to mind is t-test.
Test.
That's the first thing that you might want to think about is t-test.
Okay, it's more reliable.
Yes, most times z-test is used when the sample is large, right? Whether the variance is known or not, when the sample is large. However, technically speaking, you could use t-test even if the sample is small, provided the variance is known. Okay, but putting them side by side, when the when it's a small sample, most times people think about t-test. But if you want to use z-test, well, you have to ensure that the population variance is known. So if you have a small sample, you cannot use the variance of that small sample to substitute population variance. Then you have to be talking of large sample in such a case. Okay, so if you don't know the population variance, and the sample is small, you cannot use z-test at all. The sample is small and you don't know the population variance, then you just have to use t-test. Is that clear to everyone?
So sorry, I don't know if probably by the end of the class you can just show us an example illustration of the a file that has the containing the variance that is the tick test and the z test, so we can have a proper understanding of
Okay. What
what we're doing.
I will do, we may not be able to do that today. Okay, so we can complete our objectives for today. What I'll do, I will frame a typical question that is good for t-test, and a typical question that is appropriate for t-test.
Good. Yes.
I will send
Yeah.
that will be after the class. That will not be right now.
All
So
right.
maybe that will help us. Yeah, I will do that now.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
If we want to do that now, the time we have left will not be enough to do all that.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So can we proceed?
Yes.
Okay. So you see why we sometimes want to go back and forth and emphasize some things again is because the heart of analytics is in taking decisions, and you have to really, really, really understand certain fundamentals to take such decisions.
Mm.
Once you miss it, that's the end. For example, let's say you miss the hypothesis, setting up of hypothesis. All the other things you are doing is rubbish because you have missed the foundation.
Mm.
So even if you try to do all these other things perfectly, you are building a perfect, beautiful building on a very bad foundation.
Yeah.
So imagine building a very powerful mansion on top of sand during dry season, thinking that you have done something very wonderful. But rainy season is coming, and to just sweep it off.
To test the me test of me.
Yeah. So rainy season will come and test the integrity of that building. So you see that's the sensitivity here. At every stage, the right thing must be done. Let's say you set up a correct hypothesis. You set up a good, suitable significance level. And then in choosing the test criteria, you now choose a wrong test.
The wrong testing.
So at the end, you choose the wrong test, perform the calculations wonderfully, then you interpret. That your interpretation will be useless. It will be useless because a wrong test has been done. So the interpretation will not be reliable because you are testing based on wrong criteria. So the decision must be right.
Sorry, we need examples of those like those questions like you have said, like just shooting them one by one.
You
Like
say what?
the setup of the hypothesis, you just show us, okay, like on the file. So
Okay, this
to
one.
be very
This
clarified, all of them. Yeah.
well, yeah, maybe I can do some examples and
Yes.
after
So
I
how to
will
set up the
send it
this
or
is it, how
maybe
to set up
typical
so this is
examples
that.
that is
Yeah.
answered,
Oh,
attending to all these steps.
exactly.
So
Yes. Yeah.
no problem.
To be more uh, clear that way.
No problem with it. Okay, so can we?
Yes, sir.
Yes, let's go.
Okay, let's proceed. What's the last thing I said we are going to do?
Types of error in hypothesis testing.
Thank you very much. You remember. Types of errors in hypothesis testing. Okay, that's another important topic we are going to discuss now. In hypothesis testing, there are different types of error, okay, that can be made. So let's look at these error types. So what are the types of error?
Are you asking or you want to tell us?
Okay, if you want to tell us, you can. If you want to tell us, you can tell us.
No, I don't. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. If I tag along with the class, the types of errors, we begin from what you just told us, that if the foundation is not set up from the beginning properly, it could lead to a wrong result at the end of the day. Like taking like the first step to set up the hypothesis. If we do not set it up properly from beginning,
Yeah.
we're building on a faulty foundation.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thanks for that input.
So when you say for the example, you said the drugs cannot cure HIV, which is a no hypothesis testing, and you are putting the case whereby you say the drug can cure HIV in place of no hypothesis testing.
Okay. Okay. So that would be an error, right?
Yes, that would be an error.
Yes. Thank you. So those are errors that can be made. Okay. Thanks for
Yeah.
that input. But what we're
think-
but the perspective we are looking at this topic from is to look at what we call type 1, type 2, and type 3 errors. Okay, so somebody wanted to say something.
Okay, I don't know if that's what you want to explain. I think I don't really know if I can recall. I think this type of error is something that is that maybe the investigator or the can manipulate the hypothesis to arrive as a particular result. Is that called error, or I don't know?
No, 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 no. No, that one is more than error. That's a more grievous offense. That would be criminality.
Let's say a situation whereby the error.
Okay. I think I know what you are trying to talk about. I know what you are trying to talk about. Okay, that has to do with okay, that's not even the type of error we are talking about now, All those are even more fundamental errors. A situation where,
Yeah.
let's say your data is not properly collected, it's not collected, where the data itself, the sample itself lack integrity. Yeah, that's what you are talking about now. That one is a very, very grievous error, probably more grievous than what we are talking about now. Okay, these errors here we are looking at it assumes that there's no problem at that level. We are assuming that the sample was collected properly, sample was in order. Okay, but we are focusing, take note of the topic, types of error in hypothesis testing while you are testing the hypothesis, not error in the sample now. Okay, we are past that stage. We are assuming, we believe that everything was right with the sample, but the error that could occur in the hypothesis during the hypothesis testing process itself, that's what we are focusing on right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yes.
I think it's we'll be talking about positive and negative errors. So,
Yeah, something like that. That's
Something like
an
true or
example.
false.
Yeah, it's an example. It's an example. When you say, okay, it's an example. So let's just take it. Type 1 error is the error that occurs. These errors are the errors that occur when the null hypothesis is rejected when it shouldn't have been rejected. You get it?
Come again, sir.
In type 1 error, that is when HO is rejected when it shouldn't.
Can I say when the hypothesis is false and actually it's true or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. When the null hypothesis is rejected, okay, when indeed it is true. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So when the null hypothesis rejected, okay, maybe that will be easier to comprehend. Let's put it that way. When it is true. The null hypothesis is true, but we are saying it's not true. That is type 1. That is called, in analytics, we call that type 1 error. Okay? It's a very dangerous error.
Yes.
Very, very dangerous error. We are saying that, for example, a drug is being investigated, whether it's good or not. Okay? Now, we are rejecting the null hypothesis, which says that the drug is not suitable. So we are indirectly, like, we are now accepting the drug as a good drug when it is a bad drug.
And the bad drug.
That's a type 1
It
error.
will be very harmful.
Yes, very dangerous error. Okay. Okay, type 2 error is the opposite of that.
Type 2.
Yes, type 2 error is the opposite of that. This happens when we retain the null hypothesis, even though it is false. HO is retained or accepted even though it is false. That's type 2 error. When HO is retained, even though it is false. So let's still use the HIV drug as an example. This guy has done a very wonderful work on the drug, and he comes up with the drug. And after all the tests, we are telling him that his drug is rubbish.
Sorry, come again with the type 2. You say when it's
Yeah, that
rejected and
statement.
Can you see my screen?
it's somehow.
When
see
it's
my-
accepted.
Can you see
No, I'm
my?
not seeing your screen.
Oh. You can't see my Excel screen?
No,
No.
we only saw data analytic class.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the objective.
Okay. Because I'm typing it. Can you see it now?
Okay.
Okay.
So type 2 error is
HO is retained, even though
when
it is
Retained.
false.
HO is retained
Okay, yes. Well,
or
you could have said
accepted,
rejected.
even though it is false.
That's it. That's it.
So using the HIV drug, we are saying that the drug cannot cure HIV, even though it can.
Yeah.
That's type 2 error. Okay? Thereby deny people the opportunity of enjoying the benefit of that drug. Okay? Now, let me use another example so we can see the gravity of type 1 and type 2 error. Now, type 1 error could be, let's say, for example, a patient is being tested for cancer, whether the person has cancer or not. Type 1 error will be saying that this person does not have cancer when indeed the person has cancer. HO is rejected. We are saying the person is free. So the person doesn't have cancer, so he will not be treated for cancer, but the person indeed has cancer. That's type 1 error. Type 2 error is when the person has cancer. Sorry, type 1 says what? Type 1 says it's true. It's true. No, it's true. The person doesn't have. You say the person has. That's type 1.
Wow. Yes.
The person doesn't have. Or you are saying the person has cancer.
And I think the person has.
Okay. Type 2 is the opposite of that.
Yeah, the person have, and you say the
The
person
person
does not have.
has. You say the person doesn't have. You say they are opposite.
Yes.
Okay. So that's type 1 and type 2 error. Let's use another example. Let's say a criminal is being judged at the law court. Okay. HO says that the person is not guilty.
Assume to be guilty.
It's
Not
not
guilty.
guilty, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's true that the person is not guilty, but the person is judged to be guilty and
Yes.
in prison for a crime he did not commit. That's type 1 error. Type 2 error is declaring that somebody is guilty when indeed is a criminal. He has committed the offense.
Meaning is not guilty.
Yeah, type 2 error, we are saying that the person is not guilty even though he actually
He's guilty.
committed the offense.
Okay.
You experience this a lot in the bank. We experience, which one do we experience a lot? That should be type 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Type 1 error where a lot of times maybe you just have
Something is
a
not right.
you just have a
Something is
key
trying,
you just have a key in your pocket and you are entering the bank. The door, those electronic doors will not allow you enter. Trying to as if you are carrying a weapon in your pocket.
A weapon, yeah.
Okay.
So
you
that
are not guilty, but the door thinks you are guilty.
yes.
Mistaking a key for a gun.
an harmful object.
Yes.
That is type 2 error.
Is that
F1.
type 2 or type 1 error?
Type 1.
It says
It's type 2.
Even though it's false. The key in your pocket is not weapon.
Yes, type
So
2
the
error.
system is
Yes.
dictating it
Type
as
2 error. Sorry,
so it's
that's the
type
type
2.
2 error. Yes, that's the type 2 error. Okay.
So what's the type 3?
Type 3 error. Sorry, we need to put that in perspective. Don't forget that HO is what?
It's false. And you are saying it's true.
Yes. HO is false. You are saying it's true.
Yes.
So, the person that has key in his pocket, what's happening? The person that has true in his pocket, HO is true there.
Yeah.
But that HO is rejected as if it's
Yes.
false.
Yes.
That's type 1 now. That's type 1 error.
That's type 1.
Yes, it's type 1, not type 2. Okay. If HO is false, it means that the person is actually a criminal.
Yeah.
So that bank example, sorry, is type 1 error, not type 2. Okay, type 3 error. That one is a more
technical.
Yeah, type 1 and type 2 are the real common error. Well, type 3 is also common, but these are the major errors. Okay. Type 3 error has to do with the direction of the test. If, for example, if you miss the direction of the test, if you miss, let's say, for example, you are doing a one-tail test instead of a two-tail test, that will be a type 3 error.
Okay.
When you miss the direction of the test, it's a type 3 error.
I mean, you are saying something different from what you are actually trying
What you
to
are
say.
supposed to do, yes.
Yeah,
That would be a type 3 error. Okay. So, for example, I just give you an example. Let's say you are doing a one-tail test instead of doing a two-tail test. So that happens at what level? It happens when you are, from your hypothesis setup. Okay. For example, if you set up your hypothesis like this, instead of setting it up, instead of doing something like this, instead of doing something like this, let's say you are supposed to do your hypothesis like this, and you don't do it like this. That will lead to a type 3 error. So it happens when the hypothesis is wrongly set up. That's a very, very grievous error because it's like you are just firing in the wrong direction entirely.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You got to.
is that?
I say you are going to worry from Benin. You got to a roundabout. Instead of taking your left, you took your right.
Exactly.
You're going the wrong direction.
Exactly.
How will
You find yourself
to where you are going like that?
like.
The more you speed, the farther you are from your real destination. Oh. So this is an error. Let's just put it this way, in the direction of the test.
Error in the direction of the text. This is
So,
kind of complicated.
so even if you do everything right in that direction,
Okay, I don't understand now.
it's like getting the right answer to a wrong question. You understand? You are solving, getting a wrong answer, a right answer, but you miss the question itself. That would be a type 3 error.